The game that I want to watch, and I think this is going to be a fun game to watch, is the same game that we saw in the middle of the season that I was actually going to go. I was actually
That's right.
going to fly there, but I had some other stuff going on. I was supposed to, Speedy, do you know who I was going to go and watch the game with?
Barter. I remember that.
That's right. Barner actually reached out to me recently, and he said, look at this game. What do you think about this game? And he's got the Ducks all the way. We all know what happened early this season. And that was a fun game to watch. It was back and forth. It was defense versus offense. Oregon is really known this year and what they've been known for over the last couple of years for their offense. They do have a very good defense, one of the better defenses in the country. But it's been amazing to watch all these teams in the playoffs. And I do want to get the other two guys in. You get Fish in because I think these guys are both very good, very big college football fans. But these games are going to be very fun to watch. Obviously, I'm rooting for Riley Leonard, who I think has been fantastic all season long, filling in the way he has, coming from Duke and filling in a Notre Dame team that has been as good as any team in the nation. Now, do I think Notre Dame should be the favorites of this game? No. Georgia's been one of the best teams in the country for the last really 10 years. I mean, they've been unbelievable. This is one of the best defenses in the country. This is a very high-flying offense. We all know what Bowers is doing right now in the NFL as a tight end. He's been one of the best tight ends we've seen come out of the college football ever. So we all know what the Georgia Bulldogs could do, and they've built just a well-oiled machine. But the Penn State is going to be – that's the game. If Boise State, and I still think Penn State is going to win the game, if Boise State wins this game, I wouldn't be surprised if Boise State shocks the world and goes to the championship. I think what Ashton Jeanty has done all season long, first of all, he's the Heisman Trophy winner in my book. Yeah. This guy was the best player in the country. There's no question that he was. I mean, we look at guys that have done what he's done. Maybe two guys in NCAA history in a season has done what he has done. He's been unbelievable. He's done everything right. He's a well-oiled machine. But if they beat Penn State, who, yes, they're the number 3 seed, and everybody says Boise State, Penn State's a better team. They're playing in a better conference. I do believe Penn State has the advantage, but I would if Boise State wins this game, I wouldn't be surprised, Speedy, if they go all the way to the championship.
It's very interesting with that game in particular because neither team's passing attack has been great. They have one good receiver each, and their quarterback play has been kind of questionable. Drew Aller was a high upside prospect with Penn State that I liked at the time when he first came in, but I wasn't sure, like, his development really hasn't been there. And then Boise State's not an overly deep passing attack as it is outside of one wide receiver. So it's really a running back battle that's going to be very interesting on both fronts. And the Penn State defense is very tough up front. Their front seven, they're always known as linebacker U, and that's going to make it interesting. But Boise State's defense is no slouch either, so I definitely think there's a winnable shot for them in this game. Arizona State's interesting because they got the passing attack. They got guys that can stretch the field, but that Texas defense we talked about is
they're not beating Texas.
They're not so either. They're one of the best defenses in the nation, and again, quarterback play is still very strong there. I'm with you. That spread is probably fair for what it's going to happen. And yeah, like you said, Ohio State and Oregon. That's the game of the year for sure. That 32-31 game. Now it'll be interesting to see the impact of the bye week. We haven't seen that yet with this new format. And
you think it's going to make a difference?
I don't think it's going to make a difference with Oregon because I still think it's a tough travel for Ohio State. Now they get the home field advantage to a much higher extreme. I think Oregon is still the more complete team. Ohio State, they have Jeremiah Smith. There's still some other kind of questions with their passing attack that I don't really like. And as we talked about many times, Ryan Day, still very questionable as a coach. So I think Oregon still
Could you guys stop with Ryan Day? Ryan Day is a winner, okay? I'm not a big fan of him. I don't like him as a person, but the guy's a winner. I don't know why everybody keeps saying, it's a questionable thing, how good of a coach he is. Can we stop? I'm so tired of people saying, oh, he's not a good coach. He's won a national championship. So that says a lot about who he is. Now, is he better than any of the coaches right now still in this tournament? I mean, there's a lot of questions to that. But to say that he's not a good coach, Speedy, is ridiculous.
Well, yeah, and it's Ohio State's defense that's going to be very interesting as well against this Oregon offensive juggernaut as well, which is breaking all kinds of records their first year in a conference. Ohio State's defense is the best statistically in terms of yards per game and one of the best in terms of points per game as well. And that's what's going to make it tough. We'll see on this Oregon offensive line that's also one of the best in the country. So that's the matchup of juggernauts, and I agree with you. That's going to end up being, I think, game, but I don't know if it's going to be a 1-point game. And as far as Notre Dame and Georgia, that's going to be a good defensive duel, I think. I like Riley Leonard, obviously, with his running ability. But like you said, Georgia probably still should be favored by a little more because they're, I think, the one team that is quarterback proof. We've seen them, like, less talented quarterbacks not play in that system and still play just the more efficient guys. And even though Gunnar Stockton is a freshman, like we saw that with Jake Fromm, we've seen that with a lot of other guys. When Georgia just steps in, they make that scheme work with the running and defense after that.
Penn State, Boise State. I think Penn State's going to sell out on the run, make Boise State pass the ball. Penn State obviously has a better athletes. They obviously have the better recruiting classes. So Boise's going to have to come up with some schemes to even get Ashton Genty some yards. Penn State's also faced a lot better running backs than a lot of the teams that are going against Boise State all year. So they're going to sell for the run. They're going to make them pass the ball, and we'll see what Boise State's done. They have an extra bye week to go through and scheme for them. And my big lookout game is Arizona versus Texas. I think Texas hasn't really done anything crazy this year. They beat a lot of weaker teams, lost to Georgia twice. Alabama obviously lost to two teams that were not very good. So some of their bigger games have been against weaker competition. Arizona's on a hot streak. Ryan Dillingham has them playing out on their pants on fire, and I think it's going to be a great game to watch. So that'd be the one I circled. There's no other real upsets out there. Notre Dame versus Georgia, if either of them wins, we could be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And
Texas is favored by 13.
I'm telling you, man, Arizona State's been on a hot streak, and they play hard for that coach. And I think they have one of the best running backs in the country that nobody talks about, and he should have been in the Heisman room along with some of those guys because he's been on fire.
Oh, is he the one that's better than Genty?
Yeah. I think they're going to run the ball. They're going to keep it out of Texas' offensive hand, and they're going to make them work for it. And Texas, I mean, they've got popped in the mouth a couple times by Georgia. I don't know. It'll be fun to watch. I think that's my upset of the week.